Hey everyone, and welcome to Elsewhere in the Multiverse, the comic book podcast from the Mail Fuzz TV YouTube channel.
The Mild Fuzz TVs.
The Mail Fuzz TVs, yes. We love about comic books on this show. Not DC Comics, not because we don't love DC Comics. In fact, we do love DC Comics, so much so that we started a DC Comics podcast a long time ago, and we were on episode 146 of that this coming week. So you can go check out that. It's called Comics from the Multiverse. This is Elsewhere in the Multiverse, where me and Connor talk about other books that we're reading, a lot of which will come from Marvel, and then some from elsewhere, such as Dark Horse and Emmy, Jim Boom, and so on and so on. So that is what we do on this show. And coming up on this week's episode, we will be talking about Amazing Spider-Man issue 16.hu, Marvel. We'll be talking about Avengers 16, Uncanny X-Men 13, Immortal Hulk 14, Champions issue 3, Killmonger issue 5. Carl will be talking about Star Wars 62, Star Wars Age of Republic Padme Amidala issue 1, and Star Wars Vader Dark Visions issue 1. He'll also be talking about Conan the Barbarian issue 4. That's my nap section. I'm going to go to sleep during that 4-issue block. And then we'll come back after that for Black Hammer 45 issue 1, Die issue 4, and Ronin Island issue 1. So that's what's coming up on this week's show.
It's a healthy show.
It's a healthy show.
I brought whiskey. I thought I might need it.
There is going to be there's always timestamps in the description, so you can skip books if you want to avoid spoilers for certain books, or you're just not interested in certain books. They're always handy. They're always there to be used. So I highly recommend for that four issue corner block with the Star Wars books.
Hey, there is a brand new Star Wars book in there. People want to hear what it's like, and you know, there's some other ones in there too.
Yes. But I know you're all excited for the others here. You're excited for...
Uh-huh.
I don't know where I'd go with this. Look, alright, it's late, right? We both ended up having a nap.
Yeah, a little bit groggy. Well, my nap was, I drifted off for like 15-20 minutes on the sofa and felt way worse afterwards.
Oh no, I was out for like 90 minutes, so it was a proper nap.
No, mine was that, was I asleep? I'm not entirely sure. And then, you know, the girlfriend was like, yeah, you were asleep. You were snoring. Shut up. Which is why she woke me up.
That's just cruel.
Yeah.
There you go. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Not really any news this week to discuss.
Did you actually check, or are you just like, screw
No,
it?
I skimmed. There was nothing there. There was like one thing I didn't click on because I thought, that's so minor, I'm not even going to click on it. So
I hope it was something really important, and you're going to look like a fool.
No, there was a second artist added to Symbiote Spider-Man joining Greg Land, but I didn't care enough to click on it.
So what you're saying is it got better.
Technically, but I mean, was like Greg Land on half a book versus all of a book?
Just less Greg Land, so it's better.
It's less Greg Land, but then you enjoy a couple of pages, then you hit a Greg Land page, and you're like, you're hit.
That's just a fair point.
You're hit like a truck.
Yeah, can't argue with that.
So, you know, it's not all rose. Oh, I mean, obviously there was a Marvel movie out this past week. I mean, that's probably worth mentioning. I mean, sure, it's fairly common these days, but there was one this past weekend. Captain Marvel came out, which is notable in that it's the first Marvel movie that's came out since we started this show. So I guess that's why I have no precedent for talking about the movies.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it, so...
You haven't seen it, you weren't that interested. But I did see it. Me, Tim and Matt did a 90-minute discussion on the movie. You can get that on the YouTube page at MailFuzz TV, or you can get it on the MailFuzz Movies audio podcast feed. But you can go check that out. And we spoke for that at length, 90 minutes, quite in depth.
Cool.
So there you go. The short answer is it was good. It wasn't great. It was good. Sort of mid-tier Marvel.
It's really compelling me to go see it.
The characters are good. There's a good buddy cop dynamic between.
It sounds
Larson
to me,
and
having not seen it and just listen to people's reactions, the impression I get is if you like Marvel movies, you're probably going to enjoy it. If not, this isn't going to change your mind.
I will say the weakest thing about it is how kind of dull it's shot and how it's kind of underexposed in like various scenes.
Really?
Yeah, there was like one scene where like I didn't even get a character's initial reaction to something because I couldn't see their face properly.
It's kind of shitty.
Yeah.
That's beyond just a lot of the I expect bland just plug-in director, right?
Yeah.
That's worse than that.
It was very plug-in director, and then you had the underexposed problem, which wasn't like rampant, but it was there. Because I think the other thing I said was that the opening like section and like the Kree homeworld and like the spaceship stuff before it got to Earth, it was like, it kind of felt like the people designing this, like they were doing it because they had to have a spaceship and sci-fi section, not because they actually gave a shit about doing a sci-fi section. It just feels like this bland, like that's kind of like these movies, some.
Do you know what this sounds like? It sounds like the Asgard section in the first Thor movie. It's like, well, it worked in there, so we're gonna do that, but space.
Yes. So, there you go. That's extending 90-minute discussion. You can go check it out. A lot of nice things to say about it too, though. So, I guess we'll go straight into the books. We don't have a lot of news or rambling or small talk to do. So
yeah, but we have a lot of books.
We do have a lot of books. So we'll start off with Amazing Spider-Man issue 16.HU. This is Nick Spencer writing with Iban Coello or Coello maybe on the art. So I was curious to see what these HU issues were, because it's still Nick Spencer writing them, and it essentially just makes the book weekly for a couple of months while this story's going on.
It's nice to have an answer as to what they are, though. They're pointless. That's not to say this is a bad issue. It's fine.
Yes.
It's just pointless.
Yeah, it's pointless. Okay. Am I to take that as you did not enjoy reading it?
No, I didn't. No, this is the thing. I didn't have a bad time reading it. I just got to the end and went, I didn't need this. This was just, here, we can sell you an extra issue because it's labeled as a tie-in. And I feel like they took advantage of that a bit, because this doesn't advance anything.
It doesn't advance anything. It offers, it's a Black Cat tie-in, right? It's Black Cat's story and how she gets involved in this, right?
Right. And if this had been Spider-Man hunted Black Cat, I'd have gone, forget it, I'll pass. I'd have known what it was. By calling it, Amazing Spider-Man 16.HU, it makes it sound like, okay, no, this is kind of important. This is the main book still.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives it this sense of importance as to, okay, you should probably be reading this. And I feel like if I hadn't read this, I'd have missed nothing. Even though it's a perfectly fine issue and it's enjoyable enough.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there, right? I've got a lot of devil's advocate to hit you with.
Okay.
First of all, is this the first ever Marvel issue you've read that's adopt something for like a tie-in to a...
No, I read one before a while ago. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. I was saying at this point maybe there's a precedent, and it's like, okay, maybe you've not encountered it before, but like people know what these mean. They're still tie-ins even if they're named a bit more main issue, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If this wasn't a .HU issue, let's say this was just issue 17, right? Like, Spencer felt it was important to set up Black Cat's side of this because it's going to pay off later, or because of this, because of that. And this was the issue of the regular book. Would you have the complaint that it felt like it was pointless?
Yeah. In the same way that we both felt that about the last issue with Craven, right? We were like, it was fine, but we felt like it was a bit of a waste of time.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. I actually like this one more than the Craven issue.
No, I don't. I think I enjoyed the Craven one slightly more.
I like this one more because it was basically... I liked it exploring the idea, because we obviously something that happened a few issues ago was that Black Cat got her memories back of Peter because they'd all been erased, but he chose to give her the memories back because she actually had a history with him. And it's like sort of her dealing with the fact that she now remembers all this stuff. She remembers all of her feelings, and it's kind of hard to process, and they're not together anymore, and in a way they never were, but they were now because she's got it in her head, and it's all this confusing kind of stuff that she's working through. And I like the little hero turn because she takes this job for there's this guy who used to be her henchman back when she was the queen pin of crime in New York.
Sure.
And she has to go and try and find... What is she finding again? She's finding the owl. This other, villain. And she's trying to find where the owl is, and of course he's been kidnapped along with all these other villains by Taskmaster and Black Ant. This is fine, but she comes across the lizard kid, right? And she's basically, and I thought this was kind of cruel. She's like, "Hey, I'll, I'm not going to help him, but I'll tell Spider-Man, the Avengers, and everyone to come and like help, once I'm out of here." But when she goes to get the owl, and she hears, "Oh wait, no, the bad guys are going for the kid. I've not got time to do both." She makes the hero choice to go get the kid, and I was like, "Okay, I like this story beat. This is a nice little like, okay, she's a bit of a criminal. I mean, sure, Black Cat is very Catwoman. Like this acknowledge the comparison."
Yeah.
But like, okay, I'm liking reading about her, and she's doing her thing here. And it turns out the whole thing was actually a trap. Like the whole thing was just a trap because they wanted to get her. Because obviously she's Black Cat. She's another villain with an animal theme. It made sense that they wanted her. The whole thing was just to lure her in so they could grab her. And she does get nabbed, but she does send off this spider device, this tracker thing, to tell Peter where she is. Which, I mean, if anything's valid or vital in the overall plot, it's probably that, because Spider-Man will probably know next issue.
Now, maybe I have got some weird deja vu going on.
Okay.
Didn't we already get this at the end of like last issue or the issue before? Him getting the tracker and being like, "Oh."
Did we?
Because I read this and I knew what was happening. I knew what this was.
Maybe we did. I don't remember it, though.
So I feel like I must have read it, because it may be just weird deja vu, which, fair enough, I'll take it back if it is. But I vaguely remember him getting the tracker and looking at him and going, "Oh, knowing what it was and knowing that it meant something."
I don't remember this, no.
Fair enough. Maybe this really is deja vu.
Maybe I've just forgotten something from the last issue, but I don't remember that happening.
Okay, fair enough.
But I guess my defense of this issue is that it is a tie-in. It feels like a tie-in, and that it focuses on one character's like side story to the main thing. It feels relevant enough, but not. Yeah, it is skippable. Like, you can skip this. It wouldn't,
I will likely be skipping the rest of the .hu issues.
I like this one, but I think this still being Spencer. See, if these were written by someone else, I'd probably skip them. I'd probably not even think about it. I'd just skip them. Them still being Spencer makes me a little bit more interested in them, and I did enjoy reading this. It still felt like a solid issue of being Spider-Man to me, even if it wasn't like the most important thing ever.
Yeah, I'll maybe look at 18.hu, just in the sense that it's not a prologue chapter at that point. It's actually in the middle of it. I'll see if it's got any more worth to it. If I feel the same after that one, I won't bother with 19 or 20.
I do imagine each one will focus on a character. I feel like each one is probably going to focus on it wouldn't surprise me if one ends up being like the Lizard Kid, or one ends up being, so on and so forth. Like, it feels like that's what they're going to do with this. And it's basically just the main issues are Spider-Man and the actual main plot, and then the HU issues are going to be, okay, here's what could have been a subplot in the main book, over a couple of issues told.
It might be an interesting experiment if you read them and I don't, and see if we get to the end of it. If I feel like I'm missing something and you feel like you got the full story, or if I feel like I got the tighter, streamlined version.
Yeah, it could go either way. It could be the sort of thing where it's not so much that you didn't understand anything, but some things hit harder for me towards the end because some emotional beats were set up better with the other characters. I don't know.
Yeah, or alternatively, reading all of it could make it feel bloated.
It could. No, it could.
Yeah, sometimes we've seen it before in events.
Sometimes the theatrical cut is better than the director's cut.
Yep.
Not always, but sometimes.
It happens.
It happens. And the art's not bad.
It's fine.
Solid,
I don't love it, but it's solid.
Yeah. It's a little 90s in places, but not in others. Like, the guy she used to work with, what's his name?
I don't know his name.
Where is he?
Hammerhead.
There you go. Like, he looks very 90s to me. The way he's like, his forehead's like all crinkling and.
Yeah, the little hair triangle in the middle.
Yeah, he looks very 90s. But I don't think she looks that 90s. She looks a bit more modern Marvel-esque, I guess.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's
weird that you mentioned all that, I suppose.
Yeah. That's not bad. I mean, it wasn't like distracting to me, and it wasn't.
No, it never took me out of it. It had a flow. It wasn't anything amazing.
Yeah,
but it was serviceable.
But yeah, again, it's fine. That's
No, I agree.
I kind of want to. I don't have it on my tablet just now. I kind of want to go back to the last issue now and check if that scene happened that you're convinced did.
See, the thing is, it might not have been the last issue because the last issue was the Craven one.
Mm. Yeah, but
And obviously there was only that little bit of
No, wait.
Spider-Man at the end.
But it couldn't have been before that because the kid only got nabbed last issue.
Yeah.
At the end, because it was the backup.
Oh
of the
no,
last
I'm
issue.
looking at it now. The very last page of the last issue is the tracker coming up to him and it lands
So
on
it
his
was
arm.
last
And
issue.
he goes, oh, yeah, the tracer sends me coordinates, so at least I have a lead. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
there
it
you
was
go.
last issue. It was there.
There you
So
go.
okay, I'm not imagining things.
That's fair. I'd forgotten that. I remember the kid getting nabbed in that backup.
Yeah, I think that was part of why I felt it was a bit more pointless because it literally ends with, oh, okay, we're exactly where we left off.
Yeah. It's not that weird though for us to go back and explain how the thing because that did come out of nowhere. That tracker. It was like, okay, what is this thing?
Yeah, it came in. I'm looking at it now, and it's like, oh wait, I know this tracer, belongs to it. And then it says a message, and it's, hey, it's Black Cat. I walked into a trap, could use an assist. And she, mentions that the lizard kid's there, and that's the cliffhanger for the issue. So I mean, yeah.
What are you rating it?
I give it a 6.
I'll give it a 7. I thought it was good. It is definitely a tie-in. It is a tie-in issue. Like, there's no disputing that. If you don't like tie-ins, then yeah, just skip it. Like, I'll happily recommend that. But as tie-ins go, I thought it was a nice little self-contained story from her perspective, kind of showing her stakes in it, and maybe like her a bit more. So,
fair enough.
Yeah, accomplished something. That takes on to Avengers issue 16 though, which is Jason Aaron writing, David Marquez on the art. We're in this vampire war still, and this is the issue where Robbie gets sort of basically fixed. I mean, that's probably not the right term, but he's inside the Raider and inside hell, as it were, and he sees something, and we don't find out until the end of the issue what he saw. And it was the original Ghost. Well, I should say original because I don't think it's the first one, but like the
Johnny Blaze,
that one. Yeah, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, good old biker dude.
So that's some stuff. A lot of the first half of the issue is the fight. I did kind of like the idea that in the first part of it, that it was almost like Robbie could kind of sense that the Avengers were fighting the Ghost Rider, like outside, if you will. He could kind of
but there was nothing he could do about it.
Yeah, I kind of like that. And then there was a lot of debating as to like, okay, how do we attack him? He's still Robbie. Can we hurt him? Yeah, all that stuff. So that's kind of what it is. I thought the more interesting part of this show was probably and the Russian stuff where they've got Dracula and they take Dracula to all his like vampire like loyalists, I guess.
Cronies.
Yeah. But so we have this Red Widow character, who's like, yeah, okay, you want to make a deal, what to do all this. Basically going to tell us everything you possibly know and could be useful. And if you do so, I will make the deaths of all these vampires quick and merciful, or if not, it'll be slow. So Dracula's like basically crying his eyes out. I thought this felt surprisingly dark, given that like I don't really sympathize with Dracula that much.
Usually for good reason.
Yeah, but this actually kind of felt really brutal. It's like he's came here for asylum, and they're like, well, we're going to slowly murder everyone you kind of care about, and like until you tell us everything. Even though Dracula was going to do it anyway, he's like, no, I'm going to tell you everything. I don't even want my kingdom back. I just want a nice quiet little house somewhere where I can live out the rest of my days and not bother anyone. That's all he wants.
Yeah.
That's all he wants.
Poor old Drac.
Yeah. Art's pretty good.
Yeah, I like the art, especially on the fight scene stuff.
Yeah, some of the pages were like Carol's looking like straight to the Ghost Rider's head and stuff like that.
Yeah,
those flames.
I thought some of the facial expressions were a little bit weird in those points compared to the actual action of it. It was a bit too clean. Whereas a lot of the action is quite gritty and scratchy, and then you get some of the faces really, really clean. It has that that shiny look that we talk about occasionally, and that contrast hurt me a little bit.
Yeah, Thor's still pulling the comic relief. He's I will not be bested by a car, things like that. Yeah.
To be fair, Blade's pulling his own this issue with the dog talk.
Oh yes, there was dog talk. I recall. I recall.
Him being beaten by the dog, and so that was fun.
When Robbie does come back, when they actually bring him back out, and
because Blade sucks the shit out of him.
Yes, he sucks the evil out of him.
The sickness.
The sickness.
Yes.
And Robbie's like, sorry, I could see it, but it wasn't me. I couldn't do anything about it. And Cap hugs him, and I'm like, okay, Cap understands because he's been controlled and whatnot before. He's relating to young Robbie, but they basically bench him because he's like, this isn't, he's proved a liability, basically.
Yeah.
But the big end of the issue, outside of the reveal of who Robbie saw, which was Johnny Blaze, is that the Shadow Colonel and his Legion are actually, they've went to the Russian prison filled with all the worst of the worst, and they've released rats with bombs, but the bombs aren't explosives in the traditional sense. They are packed with blood charges of dead vampires to turn the entire prison into a vampire army. And again, keep in mind, these are all the criminals that are locked up in this maximum security Russian prison.
As you do.
As you do, yes. So that's what the issue does. I had fun with the issue. I think everything it's doing is actually...
Yeah, that was pretty solid, straightforward. A good half of it was the fight sequence, but it was a pretty enjoyable fight sequence.
Yeah. I mean, Johnny Blaze is all kind of forebodies. Next time we see each other, we're going to do more than just talk.
Down.
Yeah. So that's setting some stuff up for the future, which is cool. Again, it was dependable. Like I feel like last episode we had like 5 issues in a row at the start where everything was like, oh, it's fine, it's solid, it's good, but it's not great, and this kind of falls into that.
It does. It feels like it's in a bit of a holding pattern till War of the Realms.
Yeah, maybe this story was really only 2 issues worth, but hey, War of the Realms is starting in 5, so stretch it out.
Yeah, I am feeling that a little bit.
Yeah,
you get that in comics from time to time, and this is far from the worst offender of it. There are times where this is excruciating, and this is it's fine. But I'm ready for War of the Realms. I think at this point.
Oh, I'm not ready. I'm still catching up in Thor. Take your time, Marvel. Take your time.
You got to get cracking, mate.
I've been reading.
You've got a matter of weeks.
I've read a few issues this week.
Uh-huh.
Let's get going. It's moving.
Are you on to the latest series yet?
No.
No. Say unexcusable.
Well, you keep asking me that, but I always had more of before that to do.
Yeah.
That's a smaller chunk of it.
It is, which is why I'm like, okay, now you're getting towards the end. And you're nowhere near.
I'll get there. It's fine. Look, there was other things to read this week.
There's always other things to read.
With a monthly to read for, so that's coming up. And we had a shit ton of DC books this past week.
Yeah, also true.
So, times have been busy. What can I say?
Yeah.
It's happening though. Alright, what are you giving Avengers?
I give it a 7. It's solid.
I would also give it a 7. Enjoyable. There you go. That'll take us on to Uncanny X-Men issue 13. Matt Rosenberg writing, Salvador Larroca on the art. So we have a team of X-Men now who are living in the back of a bar.
Yep.
Which they see as being somewhat shameful, but hey. So yeah, we got Cyclops, Wolverine, Havoc, Magic. Well, that rhymed. Wolfsbane, Carmen Mirage, who I'm not super familiar with, and Multiple Man.
Who seems to be showing up in every single X-Men book since we've started.
Well, he is Multiple Man.
Yeah.
He can show up in every single...
He can.
Yes.
But, Jamie Prime seems to be showing up in every single book.
So, Cyclops has got a list of potential, or of threats they have to contain. And it's basically just a list of every major X-Men villain that they've ever had.
I feel like he wants to go up to all of them and go, "You have failed this city."
So they're arguing about what they're going to do and what should they do. And everyone's even though they're all kind of debating should we try and make the world a better place for the humans because they're they're doing nothing but making their life miserable. They're like, nah, that's the heroic thing to do. We're going to leave this world better than we left it, or when we found it. And there's a really weird Wolverine face because Larroca does really weird faces. But yeah, so they're like, we don't even have uniforms, and then Cyclops is like, nah, I went under the mansion, I found some old storage, here's some uniforms. So they whip out some 90s uniforms, He's got his old blue and yellow with the belt and the strap, and the others are all in blue and yellow. So we got that. So who is it they're tackling first again? They're going
the robot-y looking ones.
Yeah, they go to this lab, and they get all these robot spiders like attack them. It's a whole thing. So you get a big fight scene. They're all using their powers. They're all thing, and it's actually Multiple Man, or clones of Multiple Man have been experimented on and turned into these robots.
Yeah,
it's just
it's a thing.
It's a whole thing. It's actually quite dark and like depressing, like a sort of sadistic sci-fi kind of way. He has to absorb the dying version of himself and then have him die inside him, and like he's like, can I have some privacy? So they all turn around and you just hear him scream, because if he absorbs him, he gets his memories, so they can know what's going on.
Yeah, I feel like pacing's really off. It like that feels like, okay, now that's a moment you should give time and end the issue on. Like, and you can still have that bit at the end of, oh, I know where he is, right, as a cliffhanger for next issue.
Yeah. Instead, though, we actually hunt down the bad guy, which is Dark Beast, I believe, is the thing. I never heard of this character. He's an evil version of Beast, by the looks of it. So they stop him, they attack him, he hulks out, and they have a big fight. And that's pretty much it. Magic does a cool thing at the end where she teleports a sword, so the sword goes behind him. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a neat trick. It worked. But they wake up and there's news, and basically they see on the news Hope and Banshee. So they've got more X-Men to go find, and basically the news is like, oh, there's been attacks in all these vaccine clinics. Because obviously we've got this anti-mutant cure that's going around. Yeah. So apparently they've been, as far as the news is concerned, and I don't know if the news is trustworthy given how much they're anti-mutant in the media and the X-Men world, but they seem to be going around and like trashing these places. So it seems like next issue we're going to go after Hope and Banshee. So that's kind of where we leave off. Art's up and down. Like I think like that moment where like they do have to turn their backs and it's that group shot from like a distance and it's like all dark and moody. I'm like, yeah, that's a really nice panel. It fits the tone of what's happening.
Yeah.
But then there's the panels of like faces where
there's some nice action. I think it's the page after that where you get the Cyclops beam splitting the truck.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks nice. The colouring in particular is popping.
Yeah, colouring is actually quite good across the board, I'd say.
But you definitely have some really weaker panels that drag it down quite significantly.
Yeah.
I think I'm done with the book.
Really? You quitting?
Yeah. It's not that it's bad. I don't give a shit about anything that's happening. I just find myself not caring. I'm just reading through it like on autopilot. I
like it a bit more than you do. I'm happy to stick with this for a while.
I liked the first 10 issues more than this, barring I like the first 9 issues.
Yeah, the ending not so much.
Yeah, I liked that. I was feeling it then since Rosenberg's come on, and it's been this instead. I've just not been feeling it.
I'm kind of into the plot. I mean, it's not doing anything super revolutionary, and it has that kind of feeling that I think a lot of X-Men stories feel like, where it's like, I'm sure this is not the first time we've had almost this exact kind of plot. May have not been the exact same roster, it may not have been the exact same thing, but it feels like we're going through X-Men motions, which is funny because I'm pretty sure, remember that first caption in issue 11 was like, this is like the unlike any X-Men story ever.
Yeah, I called that all the time. I was like, sure it is, and
I don't buy it.
My problem is that I'm like, I have read almost no X-Men, and I still feel like I've read this story before.
I like the X-Men though, and I think the book is. I think Rosenberg's a solid enough writer where I typically like what it's doing. I like the voices and the characters, and I mean the art's hit and miss, but it does have its moments. So
yeah,
like if I'm rating it, I'd probably give this a 7 too. Like I am digging this enough, but not to extreme lengths either. Like I think it's kind of in that interesting level where it's like I care enough about the characters and the book's good enough to justify reading it, but it's not like blowing me away either.
No, I get it. One of those solid mid-tier books for
Yeah.
you, which is fine. I'd like to feel the same way. I'm just, as I said, it's not a bad book by any means. I don't think that, art issues aside that we've nitpicked, there's nothing in here where I'm going, oh, that's really bad. And the general just feeling like we've done it before, but there's no specific things where I'm going, oh, I really hate this. I just don't care about what it's doing. And this is what 3 or 4 issues of this now.
3.
3. And I'm just like, it's not doing anything for me, unfortunately. So this is just like a 5.5, maybe a 6 at a push. But yeah, no, I think I'm done.
That's fair. I've literally given out 3 sevens so far, so hopefully I start getting a bit more varied coming up.
Yeah, well, interesting books are coming up later.
That'll take us on then to Immortal Hulk issue 14. Al Ewing writing it with Hotz on the art. So different artist on this issue. In fact, I said a couple of things looked 90s in Spider-Man. This looked really 90s, this issue.
To be fair, the whole book has looked pretty 90s.
That's true. This looked especially 90s though, this issue.
It did.
Looks very 90s. So this actually starts off with Betty, and we kind of follow her more than anyone else. And she's at her father's funeral, which I thought, that's nice that they actually brought that up, because that was her father who got killed in Captain America. I mean, that should probably be addressed with her.
It should.
She's aware of it in some capacity. And she's kind of like skeptical about it because he's died before technically, and so is she. So she's like,
Yeah, this is comics. Everyone's died.
Everyone's died. Tony's at the funeral. He tries talking to her at one point. I
thought the art on Tony was particularly rough. I didn't realize it was Tony until they told me explicitly that this was Tony.
Yeah, that's fair. And we get introduced to this Reginald 14, who worked with Ross, and he seems to be a major player that we're going to be dealing with ongoing in the book. I say introduced in this run
in this series. Yes, I'm fairly sure he's been around before.
Yes. So. Do you know what's funny about this art is that, like, I think you can critique it a lot, and there's definitely things I don't like about it, but there is kind of an oddly comforting, like, 90s feel to it that I kind of like.
Yeah. I think it fits the tone of the book's been. It feels in style for a guest artist, right?
Yeah, I like the rain panels that start specifically during the funeral. All the rain stuff.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's definitely not as good.
Yeah. So we get the hints that there's stuff brewing, and that 14's actually got people coming after him. It's the same guy that was after him in the desert in the last arc is in sniper position back at Betty's place, and Bruce is there. This is after the phone call of the last issue.
Yep.
And she basically, we hear her, because it's her narrating the issue, and she wants to slap him for, like, lying to her and, like, making her think she was dead, all the rest of it. But she just kisses him instead, and it gives you her inner conflict. And the whole time, like, over the radio, the sniper's like, "Oh, I want to take him out. Like, I don't have a clean shot, but I think it's worth taking her out to get to him, because
he's like, stand down, stop this bullshit.
Yeah.
Do not take that shot."
Yes, that's like one of my friends, my best friend's daughter. We're not killing her if we don't have to. Damn it.
Yeah,
we're not doing that. So I actually think the issue does a really neat job of building up to the moment where he finally takes the shot.
Yeah, it's like, hey, it's 50-50. I mean, I feel like it's worth the coin toss.
Yeah, and because at this point they're inside and he's using thermal imaging and he can't tell who's who. And I actually think the page where the bullet goes through her head, like, her face isn't the best drawn face, but the sequence and the pacing of the impact, is really good. It's kind of an interesting.
I agree.
Difference.
And you have the way it's building up to it as well. With him shouting down the comment like, no, the sun's gone down. So what are you playing at? Come on, did you not listen to your training?
And she actually does neatly bring up at one point, and I didn't know this, that she used to be Red She-Hulk.
You say neatly. I feel very expositionary because it did it 2 or 3 times, and it felt really clunky, at least after the first time to me.
Well, I say neatly in the sense that I never knew that, so I'm glad it mentioned it because it's kind of relevant.
No, I agree in that it needed to tell us because I didn't know either. But I think neatly is the wrong word. Conveniently, I will agree.
Okay.
But there are better ways you could have done it.
Okay. I don't remember it being mentioned that often, to be honest, though. I remember it, like...
It's at least a couple of times in there.
I remember it once...
The first one's in Inner Monologue, and I thought that was weird. And there's definitely a point in conversation later as well. I think with Bruce.
Okay. So Banner immediately halts out because Betty's just been shot in the head. He's not
To be
happy.
expected, right?
Yeah, but we see her eyes open up. And,
I love the sniper's reaction. Is just whoops.
yeah, oh dear. And then so Betty's eyes do light up, so implying that she's not actually dead. Like, you know, she's still. I don't know if she's still technically Red She-Hulk or if she still has that inside or whatever. But,
yeah, there's something going on. Obviously, him over the calm is like, oh, it's night. You can't kill them. None of them die. And then you see her eyes open.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I meant to look this up and I never did. I forgot to. This character at the end. The guy that says, "I'm your doctor. Stay calm."
Yeah.
I assume this is a notable character that I should recognize, and I have no idea who it is.
I also assume that, but no idea.
No idea. Never. Don't recognize this dude at all.
No, sorry.
He's got green hair.
Yep. That's his main defining feature.
Yeah. And it's not just that it's green as well. It's kind of long, but it's only like long on one side. It's kind of like I assume it's like a ponytail that he's got kind of.
I would have assumed so. Yeah.
Coming down the side. Yeah. Betty called Bruce. She said you might be in trouble. So she called this guy. So this is, I assume, someone who's trustworthy, someone who cares. I do like that final page though. It's like looking through the bullet hole in Hulk's head.
Yeah, it does look good, doesn't it?
I do like that page. So I don't know who this dude is. I meant to actually look up Marvel Wiki to see who it was,
but you forgot.
But I forgot. So we'll find out next time. I'm sure they'll talk about who he is next time.
Yeah.
So I actually really like this issue, despite the fact that it has a different artist. I actually thought the art, while had its like kinks, I guess we'll call it. It had good pacing and actually built up to the moment really well. I mean the writing as well. Like I thought it built up to that gunshot like really well.
Yeah, definitely. Pacing was excellent.
Yeah, pacing was fantastic, and I like the overall tone. I liked that it did focus the first half of the issue just on Betty and what she's been going through and how she's looking at things. Because we've had like a couple of cameos essentially, of her just getting the phone call and another one or two moments. So it was nice to have that.
Yeah, it definitely was. Yeah.
So no. Immortal Hulk's still very good. I mean, are we surprised by this? I don't think so.
It hasn't really had a bad issue yet, has it?
Not really. I can't think of one.
I can't. And out of what 14 now, that's pretty solid. I think this is one of the weaker issues, even though I still quite like it. I think the art's pretty what's dragging it down a bit compared to some of the other issues.
I think I like this more than the last few.
Really?
Not the art, but I like the. I think I like what's going on more. I just like the plot. I like the way it's paced better.
I agree that it's paced better. I think I preferred the feel of all the stuff in Hell. With that dual narration going on. Like I was really digging that.
I think what I like about this is that it's just rooted more in like rules again. There's a logic to things that are happening. As opposed to before in Hell, it was like, well, there is no rules here. At least not that I'm aware of. And that always appeals to me more. But what are you giving Immortal Hulk issue 14?
7.5.
I'll give it 8. I like Immortal Hulk 14.
I liked it as well. Just a couple of things, I felt the clunky exposition a little bit. So,
that's why it's not a 9. But no, Immortal Hulk 14 is really good. Which will take me on to Champions issue 3 because Connor's not reading this. Jim Zub writing with Stephen Cummings on the art. Now, I will say that this is one that I'm considering dropping before I start, and it's not because this issue was necessarily any worse or better, or well, it wouldn't be better obviously, but like than the previous issues. But it was one kind of like because I'm also considering dropping Fantastic Four. That's kind of on the threshold. I want to trim the fat a little bit. And this definitely falls into that. This is a fine book. I like some of the characters, but it's not necessarily something like it was the last Marvel book I read this week. It was at the bottom of the pile.
I know the feeling,
right? And it wasn't that it was the sort of thing where I'm sure this is fine, and maybe I'd like reading it in trade, but I'm not jumping at it the same way. It feels like it's the book that's making the pile just a bit too big, but. I mean, the issue's fine. I think if there's a complaint I have about it, there's like, it actually ties into a little bit with what's going on in X-Men. Not in a big way in terms of that it's important to the plot, but a lot of the characters get called away because there's a disturbance, there's like an anti-mutant protest happening, and it's, you know, related to what's going on with the cure and all that. So I'm like, okay, that's nice that it's tying into that. You know, because especially since it's not like the main point of the issue or the plot, it's just like, this is what some of the characters are doing.
Yeah.
While we focus on the important thing. So, if you remember last issue, Miles made this deal where time get turned back after Miss Marvel and some of the others died, but as a result, the woman he saved the first time died instead. And what I really like about this issue is that he's like been beat up about this. He remembers this, and he goes back to the city to try and talk to the family. And he's, you know, obviously the mum doesn't know the timeline reset. He's like, no, you saved lots of people. You saved lives. You're a hero. Don't you know, this is not on you that my daughter died. But of course, Miles feels responsible because he did actually save her the first time and then didn't the second. My only complaint with this, though, is that there's a scene earlier on where Miles is narrating and we have like a quick flashback and he's like, oh, I saved this woman before time reset, and it's like the moment where he's like telling us that he's aware that this is, because at the end of the last issue we didn't know that he necessarily knew that. You know, we saw her hand sticking out of rubble, but he didn't necessarily see that. And when I got to that page, I was like, okay, this is fine. Yeah, it's important that we know that Miles realizes this because that's important for his character. However, when he actually went to the country later and to talk to the family, I'm like, we didn't really need that first page because we get that he knows it when he goes to do this.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, it might have made the scene with the family better.
Waste of a page.
Yeah.
For a start.
When we realise, like, why he's there, it's like, okay, where's he going? Because he gets the teleporting kid to, like, hey, can you teleport me to here? And he goes there, he teleports, and it'd have been nice to, like, go, oh, this is why he's here. He's here because he feels guilty, because he does know that she died. And I really like the guilt he's playing with. It's easily the best part of the book. And at the end of the issue, you know, Miss Marvel doesn't go with the rest to go and deal with the protest. She actually makes a teleporting kid to tell her where he took him, and makes him bring her there. And the final page of the book is actually a really great page. It's Miss Marvel and Miles. It's a full page spread of them just standing, you know, facing each other, you know, two shot. And she's just like, Miles, talk to me, and that's the final page. It's like, she's, you know, so presumably next issue he'll admit, or maybe he won't, maybe he'll lie, but it's like, okay, that was a good final page. Like, I really like what it's doing with that. The other stuff with them going to the protest, it was whatever. Like, yeah.
The question is, did you like that final page enough to come back next time?
That was the frustrating thing. I was thinking like halfway through, I'm probably going to drop this, and I got to that final page, and I'm like, I kind of want to see the resolution to this final page. The bastards. But so while I read issue 4, I don't know, I'm not committing to it, but
decide on the day.
I'll decide on the day. How busy is that week for books? We'll see. But
probably busier, given that War of the Realms is in full swing.
Probably, yes. But how much of those tie-ins am I going to keep reading? We'll see, because I'm not sure.
It's true.
I just like. I think it's a fine book. It's a fine mid-tier book. Art's pretty solid. It's better art than either Spider-Man or X-Men had for sure, and even Hulk actually. It's solid art, and I like some of the characters, but there's some of the characters I don't like as much. Like there's Nova's ex shows up to for revenge, and this is the thing. Nova's feeling all down because he's not getting his powers anymore, and I'm just like, this is purely a lack of reading anything about Nova, but I just don't give a shit about Nova.
I get it.
Nova's one of those Marvel concepts. Like every time the Nova Corps comes up, or we talk about Nova, where I'm just like, I don't care. Like, where's Green Lantern?
Stop being shitty Green Lanterns. Yeah.
I just don't care about Nova.
Yeah.
And it's not
we probably annoy so many people who listen to this.
I know, and it's not like Namor, where I don't think I could Namor. I think he's a lost cause. I'm never going to give a shit about Namor. I just don't like him.
Yeah. He's just outright terrible.
Right. Oh, you really pissed some people off with that.
Oh, I did.
Whereas Nova, maybe I could grow to like Nova, but I don't think this is the book that's going to make me do it.
No,
it just doesn't. So yeah. I'll give it a 6.5. I think the side stuff with the protest and Nova stuff I wasn't feeling as much, but I did like the Miles and Kamala stuff, which notably are the two characters I like the most in the book anyway. So that's maybe not a surprise. So.
you do get their own books.
That's the
So it's
thing.
not like
I've got a Mails book every month. The new Miss Marvel book starting next month, which I can jump onto. So I think next week even. I meant
I
not
think
next
it's next
month.
week. I was going to say, yeah.
Next week, yeah.
Yeah, and so all these side characters, the ones that you don't give a shit about as much, you're not really losing anything, are you?
I'm not.
Whereas the two that you actually care about have their own books, presumably because they're the ones most people actually care about.
Yeah, the only one that I kind of like is so far is Viv Vision. She seems cool,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
not the other ones that really set my world on fire.
Mm.
Yeah, so 6.5, I'd still say. Which will take us on to Killmonger, issue 5. This is the final issue in the miniseries. This is Bryan Hill writing, Johnny Ferreyra on the art. So this is interesting because it starts off with a 1 year later, after the events of the last issue.
Yeah.
And Killmonger basically comes to find Night and gives her this because he's like, oh, you're still working with S.H.I.E.L.D., so here's what you're going to do for me. You're going to infiltrate S.H.I.E.L.D. and put this USB stick in and it'll download a bunch of data, and if you don't do it, we're going to kill your sister. We've got your sister. So she reluctantly does this, and it's all a trap. It's all for revenge. Instead of downloading stuff, actually uploaded data, proving that she was still into some shady shit, even though she's like, I'm not into shady shit. What are you talking about? I've left that behind. And it's all a bit violent, and she, it's a big setup. S.H.I.E.L.D. comes to their meeting location. There's one of those. I mean, the best part of this series might have been all these action sequences, all these 2-page layouts that they've done over the course of the book.
Yeah, those are great.
And then she actually dies, but as she's dying, she sees that god from Wakanda that he's been seeing. Because there's even a scene with him talking to this god earlier in the issue. And the book ends with Killmonger going to Wakanda, sometime later, and T'Challa's being nice to him and welcome him, oh, you're finally home, brother. And explains that the other god that he didn't like is the main god that they all worship in Wakanda, and the one that he's been seeing is basically the Loki of Wakanda mythology.
Pretty much,
and it just ends with him smiling, kind of like, yeah, he's here to shake things up.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about this final issue?
Mixed.
Most
of the series has felt like it's doing its own thing, right? Mm-hmm. This one, it feels like, we're not going to worry too much about doing a real strong resolution for our own series. More just, we're going to set up where he gets to.
Yeah.
Which took away a little bit for me. I also think the art is the most mixed it's been all series. Those first few pages, I actually thought were kind of rough. And then I was like, he's not on his top game. And then we got to some of the mystical stuff, and I'm like, okay, it looks excellent again. When the color palette all changes, I'm like, that's gorgeous. But the 2-page action layout's great. But there's just all these moments where I'm going, this bit's not as good as I usually expect from Freya.
Yeah, that's fair. I wonder if he had to rush this last issue a bit to get it done on time.
It might well have done.
Yeah.
The important bits land, don't get me wrong. But just there's a few pages, especially the first 3 or 4, that feel a bit rushed to me.
Yeah, I almost wonder actually if the moment where she sees the god really should have been the final page. That should be the final of the book, is that she finally saw the god of Wakanda and believed in it as she was dying.
Because I think a lot of the problem is we don't really need that last bit. Learning that, Bast is the one that they actually worship.
Yeah.
Was kind of obvious anyway, just from appearance and context.
No, because it was a Black Panther.
Exactly.
It was literally a Black Panther, yes.
And from context of knowing Killmonger's a villain and this god's on his side, I assume she's kind of shitty.
Yeah, I didn't need the last scene either. I like the rest of the issue, though. Quite a bit. I liked how it was... Because I think it's interesting how this final issue was like, the main story kind of ended. This was more about him coming back for revenge because Night betrayed him. Because she did get everyone else killed. She got King or whatever his name was killed, and his family. Yeah. So, it did end up really badly, and he comes back for revenge. And I think that's kind of essentially Killmonger's thing in a weird way, where even though there's some noble aspirations at the center of what he's doing, ultimately he always makes it about revenge and being vindictive. When he goes back to Wakanda, it's like, yes, I'm going to take over Wakanda and I'm going to do all these things, but a lot of it's out of his own petty rage. A lot of it's out of vengeance. So I think that, and then you combine it with maybe the final moment, because I love that page where she finally sees that god. It's like she finally believes in everything Killmonger's been talking about as she's dying.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's like the dramatic high point of the book. The final scene is when it's fine. It's not bad, but it's just kind of like I didn't really need this final little scene.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That where she's seeing it probably should have been a full page.
Yeah, because I wonder if like because at one point it says like they first encountered each other in New York, and it gives there's a little editor's note saying see Rise of Black Panther issue whatever for that.
Yeah,
And I'm like, I didn't really need this to tie into things. I mean, not that I thought it was out of continuity. Everything about it felt in continuity, but
it would have been fine just
yeah,
being hey, there's more Black Panther that he shows up at again. No shit.
yeah.
Right.
So yeah,
I think overall for the series though, I really like the first 3 issues. Last 2 more mixed, but overall still pretty solid.
Yeah, I'd recommend this as a trade. Like when it's out.
Yeah, me too.
It's a solid trade to read. What are you giving the final issue?
I'm gonna give it a 7, but it could have been so much better.
Oh, 7.5. We'll be a little bit more positive.
Fair enough.
Final scene could have been cut though. I think final scene could have been cut. All right, so that'll. Oh, I get to have a break. I'm gonna get a drink. I've been dying to get a new drink for the last like 10 minutes.
Is it my slog?
It's your slog. So starting off, Connor's. I don't want to call it Connor's corner because that's the Patreon tier. But start off the Connor section, the extravaganza, which is basically Star Wars plus Conan. Star Wars 62. Kieron Gillen writing with Andrea Broccardo on the art.
All right, so this is the start of a new arc. I believe Gillen's final arc on the book. So we're going into the end game. Maybe it'll be the last arc of this book at all, which we haven't got any announcements yet. Rumors are it'll be cancelled, relaunched, because it'll be high 60s by that point, so it wouldn't be surprising. This is very much kind of tying all of Gillen's run together. It's bringing back a lot of elements. His first arc was back on Jeddah, and we bring all that back in. This is essentially, Leia's got this plan, Shooterun, which is this planet where we're getting all these resources for the Empire. It's where the Queen from the last couple of arcs is from that betrayed them. They're gonna essentially destroy it. But they don't want to take out all the civilian population. They don't want to, do a Death Star. They just want to ruin it so that they can't get all the resources from it. And she's like, I've got a plan, but it'll need basically everyone we've encountered over this run. So this issue is kind of, let's go and collect them. So first up, we need a shapeshifter. So we go and collect the shapeshifting actor, who's doing a reenactment of the Mon Cala arc from earlier in this book.
Oh, and of course, the Mon Cala arc. How could I forget the Mon Cala arc?
They're the fish people, Akbar's people.
Oh, I like Akbar.
There you go. See, it's a really good arc actually. That might be the highlight of this run. And it's a reenactment of that. And
this is a weird thing I want to say to you. I really want like a band called the Akbars to release an album called "It's a Trap." I feel like
it's probably been done already.
It feels like the right thing to do.
It does. But this shapeshifter is also an actor, and he is playing the lead role of Luke, although he's called Luke Swordslinger. They will change the names slightly. But the Empire show up because they're spreading propaganda, and then obviously real Luke happens to have been there right in time and steps in and rescues them. So they collect him, and then this is when they go back to Jeddah and they collect the partisans. And it's like, hey, you're just kind of wasting your time over here. The Empire's gone. You admitted yourselves. This is just petty sentimentalism, and the partisans are supposed to be about action. You're supposed to be the hardcore branch of the rebellion. So come with us and pull something off. Luke goes to visit this the cult of Isotope, where they basically worship death essentially. Not in an evil way. They just they see it in the Force and experience it and watch. And that's basically how the book ends. Is because they're gone from Jeddah when Luke goes to visit them. And he's like, I don't get it. The planet's tearing itself apart. They should be here to witness it. This is kind of what they live for. And it ends on Shoot to Run with this cult there. They get in they're at basic immigration, border control when they get there, and it's like, right, who are you? What's your purpose here? And it's oh yeah, we have come to see the destruction of Shoot to Run. Sorry, he misspoke. Tourism. We're here to see the lights. And it's just there's a little bit of a joke, but it ends with them going, okay, there's going to be so much destruction here, maybe more than Jeddah, which, for Pete's sake, who probably doesn't remember, Jeddah's the movie for the planet from Rogue One that gets the Death Star beam gets tested on towards the start of the movie.
Sure.
Yeah. You remember that? I know you do. You just pulled the bullshit.
I honestly don't. I don't remember it being tested. Did they actually fire the Death Star in that movie?
They did, yeah. It was not at full power, but it destroyed all the temple. It was where they ran away from the planet being blown up and shit.
Was that where Forrest Whitaker's awful character
was? Yeah,
okay.
That planet. Yeah. So this is that planet that they're at. But yeah, they're basically going, hey, there might be as much destruction here as there was on Jeddah, which is obviously what their plan, the rebellion's plan, isn't to cause that much destruction. But so we'll just see if it just goes that wrong. Art's pretty good. Pretty good issue. It's set up for the last arc. Like I said, it's collecting the team. Bit of a greatest hits of, okay, here's all the guest characters we've introduced over this run. But I was into it. It was a solid 8.
All right. That'll take you on to Star Wars Age of Republic, Padme Amidala, Issue 1, Jody Houser writing with Wilton Santos, and Cory Smith on the art.
Yeah, this one's going to be a quick one. This is back to kind of the standard mold of these issues in that, yeah, it's fine, it's enjoyable, but it's nothing really special or anything like that. It's Padme gets an invite to come and talk to this planet. It's a neutral planet in the war, and they reach out to her going, hey, maybe we'll be interested in joining your side. And she gets there, and ultimately it's like, okay, is it kind of a trap? There's an assassin up on the sniper on the top of the roof that tries to take her out. She survives and gets inside the building. It turns out that if she'd been there a bit earlier, like she'd been planned to, there was an assassin attack on the governor who reached out to her. And he's dying, and he's like, we wish we could have helped more. But the second in command, takes over when he dies, and is like, well, we want to help maybe, but we're not soldiers, so we'll have a think about it. We'll do this a democratic way, and we'll have a vote rather than just the governor reaching out. But maybe we can help you in the future. So they leave on good terms with the idea that maybe she'll help them. Maybe they'll join the Republic in the war. But it's relatively inconsequential. Padme gets a few nice moments with her handmaidens. A lot of banter and just some nice moments. She goes and takes out the sniper. They do a little diversion, send a couple of people out to the ship dressed in hoods that look like theirs. So the sniper thinks he's got them, and then she takes him out from behind. Turns out he's a wanted criminal, so they're going to bring him back for charge. It's fine. It's not a special issue, this one. Again, this one is one of the ones that I would count as the skippable ones. There's only been 2 or 3 other series that are like must reads. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's a 6.5.
All right, which will mercifully take us on to the final Star Wars book, which is Star Wars Vader Dark Visions Issue 1. Dennis Hopeless writing and Paolo Villanelli on the art.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one because I didn't actually know what to expect from this. It turns out this book, or at least it seems like it's going to be a series of one-shots with Vader as the theme. And in a way that might interest you, you always you'll do a movie or a story, focus on someone else and just see the villain there still, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the approach it takes here. So we're on this planet that got decimated by a kaiju decades ago. So everyone lives underground because there's this kaiju. Destroyed all their cities, and it's narrated by this kid who, they're up there, they scavenge during the day, and then they go back underground. But they're up there, and there's a space battle going on above them. There's the Vader's taking out some rebels, but Vader takes a little bit of a hit. So some ship gets a bit of a malfunction, and he's like, right, okay, I'm gonna have to land, and you have to come pick me up. So he goes down. And then the issue becomes Vader versus the kaiju. And it's as cool as it sounds, I'm not going to lie. Art is fantastic. It's all these dark shadows, lines. The lightsabers, all the jagged look, the raw energy look, rather than just the straight beam that you get sometimes. It looks gorgeous. You got him, using the Force to do all sorts of things, open up its throat so it can have a slash at that, throw his lightsaber around to take out a finger so that he can get free when it's got him in his hand, all the stuff you expect. And then at one point he comes riding in on like this demon horse looking thing with horns. It's kind of cool. It's what's on the front cover if you want to have a glance at that, if you've not read it. And there's this fantastic 2-page spread where he jumps off the horse, right up into the kaiju's mouth, and strikes at it. And it's fantastic. And the kid's there, he's calling him the Black Knight because he doesn't know who he is, because obviously he's lived underground his whole life. And it's this panel of this kid looking up at Vader in absolute worship, because as far as he's concerned, Vader's just saved his planet. This means they can come out and live above ground again. They don't need to be scared of this kaiju. And it just ends with him, telling the story to all his family and friends. But it's actually a really solid issue, way more than I expected going in, because I had no idea what it was. And so I assume that's the crux of these issues is, okay, it's going to be someone and their experience with Vader, because the next one says it's the prospect of a failure torments an Imperial officer because punishment means only one fate, the wrath of Darth Vader. So I can kind of see, okay, I get what the structure of these is now, which makes me a lot more interested, because we've pretty much had continuous ongoing Darth Vader every month since Marvel got the license. And I mean that as in Darth Vader's head from his perspective. So this is a really refreshing change of pace to get it from this angle. And I've enjoyed both of those last two series. You had the longer Kieron Gillen run and then the Soul run. Both were really good. But this is... It's just refreshing to see them take a different angle entirely. And still, I get they still want a Vader book because it sells, right? But to do something very different from those last two, it doesn't feel like we're retreading old ground. No, this was real good. This was an 8.5.
Relax, people. It's almost over. This painful corner section of the show is almost done. He's got one more to talk about, though. Although it's not Star Wars, at least. We're moving on to different territory. Conan the Barbarian, issue 4. Jason Aaron writing with Gerardo Zaffino on the art.
Yeah. This is going to be extremely quick because I couldn't read it. I got 3 pages into this and I had to give up. The art is dreadful. I could not stand it.
Oh dear.
I hated it with a passion. And I was just like, I've got 3 pages in and just went, I can't do this.
Oh dear. You get to a Jason Aaron book because the art was that bad. That is interesting.
Yeah, it was that bad. I couldn't do it. And I think this will be to some people's tastes. It's very, very scratchy and raw, dark and gritty, and I couldn't do it though. I really hated it. I'm going to have to read a recap of this issue somewhere else so I can jump into issue 5. Hopefully we're back to regular artists there, or at least someone better. But no, sorry. Got nothing on this one.
Oh well, fair enough. I hope that wasn't false advertising. I thought you'd read it. In that case, we're moving on. We're moving on to the non-Marvel books, finally. We're starting off with the first issue of a new Black Hammer mini. This is Black Hammer 45, issue 1. Jeff Lemire and Ray Fox writing, with Matt Kindt on the art. So this is notable in that it's the first Black Mirror series of any kind where there's a co-writer.
Black Hammer.
Sorry, Black Hammer, not Black Mirror. I was distracted with the cat. There's a cat in my lap moving around, and I'm fielding cat shenanigans. Right, there we go.
Excuses.
So yes, Black Hammer 45 issue 1. Tells the story of a squadron in World War II, and it kind of builds up to this major final mission they went on. We don't get to see the final mission on this issue. There's a lot of build up to it. It's them getting the briefing going on it, and it's set in present day as well, with the old timers kind of, looking back at it and like meeting up, the ones who are still alive
on that day, the anniversary.
Yeah. And there's this feeling of guilt because the main was it Hawthorne, Hammer Hawthorne, feels guilty because he was the captain for whatever happened on that day, and it does some world building of the time and who the other major players going into this final conflict are, because it's like 3 weeks before the war ended. It's in 1945. It's like right before the end of the war. So I'll get my first thing out of the way. I hated the art with every fibre of my being.
Really?
I think it is an ugly ass book.
Oh man, I completely disagree. I don't think it's necessarily the right art for this book, tonally, but I love Matt Kindt's art as a rule. In a lot of other stories, I really love it.
Garbage. I can't stand it. I didn't give up after 3 pages though, because I'm a professional.
Maybe you should have done.
Oh really? I came out of this show. Oh, I didn't finish the new Black Hammer book because I didn't like the art. What would your reaction to that be?
I'd be like, fair enough. I mean, the art is half of the book.
It is, but I still wanted to read the story, and I was actually a little bit rocky early on. I was like, I haven't got a solid foot in this. However, by the time we get to the second half of the issue, and it was introducing the Red Tide, which is these like red mech suits from Russia, and then this ghost. What was it? The ghost hunter, ghost pilot, ghost hunter. This German pilot who had like killed thousands, and the captain wanted revenge on him, so this became a personal mission because this guy had killed 2 of his brothers, and and it's like they're all going to this one thing because the Allied forces want this pair of scientists at this base because they want them to help with the Weird project, which obviously is going to lead to Colonel Weird in the future. So it's just setting up this stuff, and it's like, okay, they tie into that, and they'll try to get these mad scientists during World War II from the Nazis as a whole thing. So I like that setup. I liked that by the end of it, when it set up all these main players, and it was like, okay, something big goes down in this mission, and we're going to get to that in the next. And obviously, the final page is like, on top of all this, there's like what would you call that? A giant.
It's bordering on a god.
Bordering on a god, yes. There's a huge bearded fellow who is like hundreds of feet tall at the location as well.
Yes, he's very Zeusian.
Yes. So that I did
looks fantastic. That that last panel, of that is one of the best images in the book. I think the art. I think for the most of the book, it's kind of not the right tone. The second to last page, where it's the 3 pilots, cutting down. I think that page is absolutely fantastic and is like perfect tonally. But it's some of the other stuff that I feel is a bit weird.
I don't like his faces.
Do you know?
I hate his faces. They feel. This is going to sound really insulting, and I don't mean it to be insulting. I really don't. But it feels like something a kid would draw.
I don't get that at all.
I don't like it. I really don't like it. I think it's messy. I don't necessarily always, like, during the action stuff, I don't necessarily always get exactly what's going on.
Yeah, it's not clean. It's why I said I don't think it's ideal for this book with the action. I think it loses that a little bit. I think it's fantastic in the emotion of the faces. There's a bit like in the middle of the issue where it's the 2 old timers driving in the car, and it's just cutting between their faces. And I think that's some of the best storytelling in the book. When it's, I know you're saying, oh, you don't really like the faces. When it's focusing on the faces and the emotion and stuff like that, I think that's when this is at its best.
Nah, I just don't like looking at it.
Yeah.
This is the worst art I had this week. I'm sorry. I hated it. I hated the art.
Well, not a lot you can do about that, is there?
And because of that, this is easily the weakest issue of anything Black Hammer I've read, even though I like some of what's going on in the story.
I think it might be the weakest of Black Hammer. In terms, I mean, I don't know if it's the weakest single issue, but in terms of the series and the miniseries that we've had, I think this is definitely my least favorite off the bat. It's the one that grabbed me the least. Part of that is, generally speaking, I'm not big on war stories. This has a bit of a twist where you got some mechs and some weird stuff going on that helps. But the first half, 2/3 of the issue is mostly war stuff, and that is less appealing to me as a rule.
I'm just glad Matt Kent's on this side book and not one of the main series, because that would break my heart basically. So,
I get it.
I'm intrigued. I mean, I like what it's set up with all the factions by the end. I'll be back for issue 2, but yeah, rating this is kind of weird because not normally these Black Hammer issues get quite high ratings from me because Black Hammer's very good and Jeff Lemire's a really good writer, and I thought the writing was fine here. I don't think Ray Fox was dragging the writing down.
No, I think I'm assuming it's Lemire's the story, and then Fawkes has just done the scripting, the dialogue. And I've read a few things from Fawkes before. He's always been fine. Yeah. He's rarely been a standout writer, but he's always been fine. I think this is probably some of his best writing in the sense that he probably had a really strong core idea to go from Lemire, and he's just doing the dialogue. But the dialogue's good, so.
What are you rating it?
7.5.
6.
Oh, fair enough.
That's the art.
What are you going to do, right?
Yep, sorry, but I just can't do. Anyway, that is on to Die number 4. Kieron Gillen writing with Stephanie Hans on art. So,
yes.
You're the one in love with this, you.
I am in love with this. Are you not? I mean, I know you were not so hot on the last issue in that it was the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, this was better than the last issue. It definitely was.
Last issue was very much a deconstruction world building issue. This is no, let's move it forward. A lot of character beats.
I am kind of in a weird place with it though, where I'm not as in love with the plot. Like the art's gorgeous. The art is like, making it such a pleasant place to be in whenever I'm reading it, but. It's definitely like, I've talked about, maybe trimming some books. Like, Die's kind of on that list of like, this I could probably say goodbye to this and not be that upset about it.
Yeah, that's bad to me. I don't think the plot in this issue is anything standard. The back essay actually goes, at the start of like a video game, you have the right. Okay, let's go and get the quest in the pub.
Mm-hmm.
This is that issue just taken to the extreme, and I agree with that. So plot-wise, it's not doing a lot. It's a little bit at the start, a little bit at the end. But I think all the character stuff in here is really good. And I'm glad we got, starting to flesh out these characters a lot more here now, 4 issues in.
Yeah, there's some interesting character pieces. The most interesting thing in the issue is probably when someone... They bring up the idea that Ash, hey, why did we never talk about the idea that in here you're into guys, but in the real world you seem, you're... As far as we all are aware, you're just a straight guy in the real world, but in here you're a woman and you're into men.
Yeah, and they're like, we could never actually ask you because the spell stopped us.
Yeah. I also got the kind of impression that just being young, it was almost like how do we even approach this subject? But we're all adults now, and we can talk about this. And the subject gets changed, but we kind of see in his narration that it's a valid thing to ask, and we never really talked about it. And he's kind of scared to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. I was like, oh, okay, that's actually a really interesting thing to explore.
Yeah, the idea I got from this is a level of repression in the real world, and this is how he really feels is in this world.
Yeah. Because I don't know if before now if there was any hint of like who he was romantically attracted to in this world. Like, I mean, yeah, sure, he's playing as a female character, but that didn't necessarily mean that he wasn't still into females. Perhaps
I think there was the maybe an implication with that guy last issue, the one who had been searching for him.
Yeah,
'cause of
yeah.
the-
And he
I
used
think
the
there was
voice. Yeah.
maybe a bit of a hint of there was a past with them.
Yeah, no, I mean,
But,
especially now after this, yeah, I would
yeah.
maybe recontextualize that a little bit. But
Mm.
that was interesting to me. That was interesting to me.
Yeah.
And there was some little bits for other characters. The night we get like he lost his
Mother, I
his
think it
mother when
was.
he was young.
Yep.
It was just appendicitis. It was a routine operation, but she died. So when his daughter had like an operation when she was young, again it was a routine operation, but he was terrified.
Yeah, it was because it was the anesthetic. Right?
Yeah.
He said, the odds 1 in 100,000, and it's like but somebody's always the one. And then he was convinced it was going to be him again. When it was his daughter.
But he talked about how that was the bravest he'd ever been because he had to put on the brave face because he didn't want the last thing his daughter remembered if she did die to be him like making her scared that she was going to die. So no, there was other than that, they're in this town, they're in this glass town that they never visited before. It's this like big town, and they're all treated like heroes. And there is kind of a nice gut punch at the end where it's like, so we've been given this big quest to find these 3 keys, and they're all in different dungeons. And
I love how it's just like yada yada yada. We don't, this is so generic, right? This quest giver.
Yeah, and it's like, well, why don't we just force him out of his like, his palace or whatever it is.
Yeah, he's worked on Glass Town. There's statues of him. He cares about this.
Yeah, so at the end, Ash is like, so he'll probably come and, check it out if we destroy it. And it has this kind of, even though they're all NPCs, it's like, these people are all really nice to you and worship you and all treat you as heroes.
Yeah, and we've already gone over the debate of how real is this place? Is it just a game or is it like an alternate world, right?
Yeah.
So how much are they NPCs and how much are they just people? I think that'll be something the series delves into a bit more as it goes on as well.
Do you know what I think I'm missing? Because I like the first issue a lot. Do you know what I think I'm missing? I think I'm missing the real world.
Really?
I think I like that as a counterpoint to what was going on, and I think because we've just been in this world now for 3 issues, and it feels like we're probably just going to be in this world for a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe till the end of the book. Maybe not. Maybe there'll be like some back and forth. Like I almost thought there was going to be more cutting between or.
Okay, I get that.
Something.
I don't think I ever assumed there would be. I thought, after the end of the first issue, once they were sucked in, I always kind of just figured that was it.
Whether it was because they were getting in and out of the world, or it was going to be like flashbacks, as a regular thing, I don't know. But like, I was expecting more of both.
I didn't see that because you were definitely a lot more into the first issue.
I think I like the mystery of them in the real world, like talking about what had went on more than I actually like just. Seeing it and like sequential adventures.
I get that. I'm really into that stuff personally, because I'm a lot more into the fantasy genre than you anyway. So the deconstruction elements are working for me.
Yeah, fantasy's not my thing. If you, I mean, you probably know this by now, but if you don't, this is the first episode of Elsewhere in the Multiverse you've ever listened to. I'm not a fantasy guy. I don't like fantasy that much.
No, it's true. So this book was always a bit of a reach for you anyway, right? This is probably the most into a fantasy thing I've seen you in a while, right?
The only fantasy things that I'm into that I can think of are Witcher, and Never-Ending Story.
Really?
I like Never-Ending Story. What do you want from?
I wasn't expecting that.
Come on, it's got Falkor, so it's a giant dog dragon. It's great.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying. If I'm going fantasy things that you're into,
it's got a cracking good theme song as well.
It does.
Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings. Nah, puts me to sleep.
Yeah, no, that's just lost more fans than my Namor bullshit earlier.
So much walking to Mordor. So much walking to Mordor.
It's about the journey.
One does not simply walk to Mordor. Yes, they do. It takes 12 hours, but they do simply walk to Mordor.
I'll tell you now, though. This book had the biggest laugh I had all week, in not just in comics, in anything. It gave me a proper, one of those belly laughs at about 3 a.m. when I read it. It was unacceptably loud for that time, frankly.
What was the laugh? Go on.
It was, towards the start of the issue, they're going off. She's off to the temple to get healed, and Angela's like, "So, what are we gonna do?" And the character goes, "Oh, we're the British abroad." I was like, "So the pub?" and he just goes, "And we are a thirsty people," and it's just them in the pub drinking. I'm like, "Yep, okay, it's that's as true as it gets." It says, you're saying, "Oh, you're missing the real world." To me, that's like the link where that is so relatable as the real world of just the standard British person.
It's not relatable to me, but all right.
No, but just as the British holiday goer, they go and sit in a pub. That's just what they do. And so that was, to me, is like, okay, that links it to the real world. That grounds it and makes this feel real to me, beyond the fancy elements. I know it's weird, but it really did.
Eh.
No, I get it.
I don't know. I'll be honest, British stuff in stories doesn't usually do much for me.
That's fair.
It's weird. It almost takes me out because it's going out of its way to be British. It's weird. I don't know.
I don't think this is going out of its way to be British. It's just, it's a British writer about British characters that occasionally there are things that are British in it.
Like at one point, Ash says, "Let's get sloshed," and I just kind of like, sloshed in a comic book. I don't know. That feels weird.
Yeah, but it's an English character. It's a character from the Midlands going, "Yeah, let's get sloshed." That just feels so natural to me. That's yeah. I don't know.
Maybe I just don't like reading about characters from the Midlands.
Don't blame me on that. The Midlands are shy. I'm from there. I can say it with certainty.
Maybe I just like, no, there's more interesting places and people to write stories about, I guess. I don't know.
But I think that's to me why I like stuff like this, but where it's this really mundane people, essentially, right? It's a bunch of kids from the Midlands. It's as mundane and shit as it gets.
Well, I hate the Scottish things as well. If anyone's thinking, "Oh, it's just because it's English," no. I hate when Scottish stories insist in pointing out the Scottish by referencing Scottish things. It really bugs me. Oh, we have to mention Iron Brew. We have to mention a kilt at some point. I hate it. It pisses me off.
Okay, no, that's too far. I agree when it's things like that.
Just do your story, right?
No, I get it. This just felt like natural dialogue to me, though. So I don't know. Maybe it's because I know more than enough people who will talk like that it just feels natural to me.
All right, what are you rating that?
It's a 9.
7.
Fair enough.
One of these issues I've only have dropped it, but not tell Connor. Just he's going to be sitting there all dismayed.
Oh well, because I'll still be loving it, so it's fine.
All right, and I'll take us on to the final book of the week, which is Ronan Island issue 1. This is from Boom, and this is a Greg Pak book. He's writing it along with Giannis Milanoganis.
I'm not gonna lie. Half the reason I said, "Hey, do you want to read this for the show?" was I saw that name and I went, "Oh, that'll be fun to see you try."
Joe's fine. I'd forgotten this existed, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's Greg Pak. I like Greg Pak." So this is an ongoing. This is a mini-series. This is a 5-issue mini-series, if I'm correct in saying. And it's set on an island. It's not called Ronan Island, but I mean, it's an island of Ronan. And we were interested in these two characters, this boy and a girl. The boy's from like a rich family who's kind of been there for generations.
He's like the son of an ex-leader.
Yeah, so it's this sort of legacy thing, and she's this Korean girl who's just kind of like poor and a farmer, but she's also very good. So they're both kind of graduating from their class on the same day. And they do this race, and they're kind of like cheating against each other constantly. And they're kind of the character dialogue between them is really good. It's really playful and really fun. They're constantly one-upping each other, and then they get back to, and they have to hit this bell to get to finish the race, and they both hit it at the same time. Whoever does it
first.
So it's a dead tie. And that's weird. That's the first time it's ever been a tie or something like that.
Yeah, and the elder's like, perfect. You can kind of essentially you'll rule together. Is the idea you get, right?
Yeah. So it's this idea of like, okay, you represent the history and the legacy, but you represent the future and diversity and what we can be. And it's like, oh, okay, all right, it's dynasty. So it introduces these characters, and then this ship shows up, the Shogun ship, and Shogun goes off. And he's like, oh, we're the Shogun, and like, hey, the Shogun's been dead for a while. Like, this has not been a thing. And he's like, no, you're going to, pledge your allegiance to us. You're going to give us your harvest, so we'll protect you from the ongoing, crisis in the mainland. And they're like, we've survived so many crises. We don't really need you. We're happy to be friendly and like maybe negotiate.
Because there was this event in their past called, I think it was the Great Wind.
Yeah.
Where whatever happened was bad and wiped out. Because this island is like, okay, some of them are Japanese, some of them are Chinese, some of them are Korean.
Yeah, it references the 3 lands or the 3 kingdoms or something, whatever they call it. And the twist is though is that what they're talking about because one of them, the guy is really cynical and he's like, how do I know you're just not pretending to be a shogun, that you're actually just some chancer who's trying to
And the
extort
elder one
us.
was like, no, the way you're talking, I believe you. Doesn't mean you deserve the respect, but I believe you are what you say.
But it turns out the crisis he's talking about is actually demons. There's like an army of demon soldiers coming. So they actually ended the book because there's some fun stuff where the woman keeps like telling the kids not to fight. It's not the time for fighting because they keep wanting to. Because at one point one of them tries to like fire an arrow at the shogun.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, now's the time to fight. So the final page is like all of them, including the shogun, all running together towards the demons coming towards them. So I had fun with this.
Yeah, me too. I like this is probably what happened before because the elder's like, whatever happens, we'll endure. And the general for the shogun's like, hey, last time, surviving meant avoiding the poison and fending off scavengers. Sure, you managed that. And the elder's like, right, thousands died. You must have been a toddler. You don't know what it was. So I'm pretty sure this is what happened last night. That's why they've been training so hard, right? In case it came again.
Yeah, maybe. But
because they don't look surprised to see it.
The characters are very likable, and the art's pretty solid. It's just nice and expressive, and
yeah, it's real nice, colourful. Which
colorful.
I think there's a danger of having a book like this, this demon invasion, and just going dark and grimy, but it's not at all.
No, it's going for more of a fun, pulpy kind of vibe to it, rather than we're doing a grim like demon zombie thing. It's definitely not doing that. It definitely wants it to be fun, and it's only 5 issues, so it'll be a contained story. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's the sort of thing where if it does well, they'll do a sequel.
It might be one of those that they got the plan for. Hey, we'll roll it into more.
Yeah. So no, I'm glad we tried this. Actually, I will definitely read issue 2 of this.
Yeah, me too. I was really into it because, like I said, I forgot this was coming out. I was basically just checking. My shop does each week. Or here's all the books we're getting this week. If you want to reserve anything that's not already on your list or whatever. So I typically check it in case there's something I've not noticed. And I saw this. I saw Greg Pak's name. I thought, I'll go on then. That sounds all right.
No, it was good. I like Greg Pak. Obviously, he's doing Firefly right now, also at Boom. So
yeah, he's done lots of stuff that we like in general. So yeah, that was basically the main reason I tried it. I was like, I really like Greg Pak. The concept alone is sounds fine. But it delivers on what I expected. And like I say, character dialogue is probably like 3/4 of the issue, and it's really on point.
No, it makes them very likable. What you rating it?
I'm gonna give it an 8.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I'll give it an 8. So there you go. That'll wrap up the books, which takes us into the portion of the show where we pick our favourite stuff of the week. We do our favourite panel/moment, favourite cover, favourite artist, and top 5 books. So, what is your favourite panel/moment of the week?
Mine's that 2 for panel I spoke about in Die. With the drinking, it got me good.
I'm going to have to go with a gunshot in Immortal Hulk. So in case you've skipped to this, I won't spoil anything in case you skip past it because you've not read it yet. But I'll just say the gunshot in Immortal Hulk.
Good moment. Yeah,
it was really good. Best cover.
I'm gonna go with the Vader Dark Visions cover. It's this gorgeous orange glow with Vader on this demonic horse looking thing.
I want to give a shout out to Ronan Island, but I'm going to pick Hulk because Alex Ross, and it's got Betty and Bruce like hugging in front of a nuclear explosion, in which the sort of giant ghost-like Hulk is looking down at them.
It's real good. There's some good covers this week. You mentioned Ronan Island. I really like both the covers for Die. Killmonger has a great cover.
Yeah, Killmonger's solid. Yeah.
Good week overall for covers.
Yeah, except that awful Black Hammer 45 one because Matt Kent did it.
How dare you?
All right, best art of the week. What you got?
I want to pick Matt Kent just to annoy you, but you know damn well it's Stephanie Hans for Die.
Is there anything else I like more than that? Probably not. Yes, it's definitely Hans for Die.
Yeah. Say what you want about that book, but the art is phenomenal.
No. I mean, we didn't talk about it much because obviously once we talked about it after the first issue, it's been the same since. There's nothing else to really talk about.
It's been, damn near perfect every issue, right?
Yeah. So Yes. Anyway, so top 5 books of the week then. What you got?
Well, Die's number 1. I think I'll do Vader Dark Visions for number 2. Ronin Island for 3. Star Wars 62 at 4. We'll go Immortal Hulk or Black Hammer 45. I'll go Black Hammer 45.
Okay.
Yeah.
My number 1's probably Immortal Hulk. Number 2 is probably Ronin Island. Number 3, I had a lot of 7s this week. This is kind of a weird one.
Yeah.
Number 3. This is a really hard week, actually. This is really hard. Number 3 is probably Killmonger. Number 4, I'll go Avengers. Number 5, I'll go Die. There you go. There you go. Weird week. A lot of 7s. Swimming in 7s this week. Swimming in 7s. But there you go.
Yeah.
So that leads me to tell you what is coming next week. Next week. Next week-ish. So coming next week, at least as far at the time of recording, what we have on the schedule. Although Marvel books and these other publishers do seem to slip around a little bit quietly.
We should probably make an effort to check before we do this recording, but we always forget.
I always forget. But I like the idea though that it's like, if this doesn't match, it's because they've changed things. Because this was
These
right
were
at one
right
point.
when we wrote them down. Yeah.
Yes. So we got Amazing Spider-Man 17. We have Winter Soldier number 4. We have Magnificent Miss Marvel issue 1. X-23 number 10. Wolverine the Long Night number 3. You get Star Wars Age of Republic Special Grievous issue 1. You get Blackbird issue 6. We have Outer Darkness number 5, which I actually didn't do issue 4 when that came out because it wasn't on our list and I didn't realize it had come out. But I will do that for next week. And then we have Gideon Falls. Is that next week?
That's when we're going to do...
Oh, yes, right, yeah. So there's not a new issue next week, but because we didn't have time to catch up for the last issue, we're going to, because it's a lighter week next week, we're going to catch up and talk about Gideon Falls next week. At least that's the plan. If that falls through, then it'll happen at some other point, but that is the plan right now.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see if there's any interesting looking books starting that I'm like, we should check that out.
That slip through the cracks.
Yeah, they do. There's another Age of Conan miniseries starting. I'll see if I check that out. Depends how I feel next week. There's an Image book called Assassination, not Assassination Nation, unfortunately. Assassination. What is it? World's former greatest hitman hires the 20 best assassins in the world to be his bodyguards. These mean as hell hired guns and murderers must work together to keep the new crime boss safe while attempting to solve the mystery of who's trying to off him. In the spirit of Hot Fuzz, Tropic Thunder, and Deadpool.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. That's a bit of a mishmash, isn't it? Maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, it's worth mentioning we have some Patreon picks to do on this show now. If you're not aware, this is a perfect way to plug Patreon here. So patreon.com/MailFuzzTV if you want to support the show and the channel and all the shows we do. You can go ahead over there and support us for as little as $1 per month. At the $5 tier, you get access to the monthly episode of Comics from the Multiverse, which there'll be one soon with a Batman episode. But one of the bigger tiers is that you can make me and Connor read a book once per month. And we actually have, and obviously now that we have this show, it could be for either this show or Comics from the Multiverse. So next week we're going to both be doing our picks because we each have one pick to do. I'll be doing X-Men issue 1 from 1963. So that'll be fun. I'm actually looking forward to reading that. So that's good. It wasn't too punishing. What are you reading, Connor?
I don't remember. So it'll be a nice surprise for me, I'm sure.
Yes, I believe it was a Scott Lobdell written X book from the 90s.
That sounds about right.
So that's coming next week too. So yeah, check out Patreon if you want to support us. You can also support us in other ways, of course. You can like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you thought of the books we talked about. You can, of course, let us know on Twitter as well, all that kind of thing. Twitter, of course, is at MailFuzzTV, or that's wrong. That's very wrong. It's at mailed_fuzz, or at DC Comics Podcast, which is probably the better one to go to because it's more specific comic book related stuff. So you can check out that too. There's also merchandise. There's links in the description to both the US and the UK store. I'm trying to like plug random other shows we do, just in case there's something you might be interested in that you would never hear about because it won't get recommended because it's completely different. So I will take this time to recommend Screams After Midnight. There's a horror movie podcast that me and Tim do every week. We watch a horror movie, we talk about the horror movie, and we have some fun and crack some jokes, and it's a delightful time. So if you're into horror movies and you're interested, you can check out that. It's on the YouTube channel MailFuzz TV, but it's also got its own podcast feed, Screams After Midnight, should you wish to check it out. So there you go. Are we done?
I think we're done. Yeah.
Did I plug everything?
I mean, you're done Twitter, you're done Patreon, you've done other stuff.
I nailed it. I think I nailed it. So that's us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep reading comics, keep reading Marvel comics, but remember that assembly is required.